everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, my special guest, Kylie Patchett, rejoins me. If you haven't listened to our very first conversation on the podcast, I highly recommend and encourage you to listen to it. Kylie is truly a powerhouse of passion, resilience, and transformation, and she is the creative genius behind KP Creative, the voice and visibility catalyst for paradigm shifters, healers, helpers, rebels, and revolutionaries. Kylie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our next chat because I feel like, we talked about, strategy and moving through the world and claiming your voice, but it's like there's this deep layer underneath that has to underpin all that. Otherwise, it's like on sand and shifty. So, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. We need a solid foundation. And so let's start with that side of things. So I'd really like to begin with what happened when everything cracked open for you? Because you mentioned that um, there was a year that really had to change for you. So what was the catalyst behind all of that?
Oh, I was just fucking sick of trying to like do things the done way or like I kind of like follow the rules. And I knew that my ideal clients, the people that I love working with and that feel the most juicy to partner with, are paradigm shifters. And I'm like, why am I trying to speak to and call in and invite into my field to paradigm shifters doing it the done way? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually not what I want to be doing. And so I just decided at the beginning of 2024, I was just like, I'm just fucking done. I'm done, you know, working hard or grinding. I'm done following the rules. I'm done trying to put someone else's like plan or solution on top of my business and my design. And I just was so sick of feeling frustrated at like you know what it's like? Like we've all bought that course that's like, here is the 5 steps to bloody blah. And you try and like it, I'm always the good student. Like I'm in there and I'm doing it all. And then I'm like, all of this is just feeling like I'm more and more out of alignment. And I just had this moment where I was like, I need to actually start trusting my own instinct and anchor into my awareness, how powerful and magnificent I am when I'm just being my freaking self. And that is when everything changed. But far out, man, I really connected to the Empress archetype for the whole of last year. I am slightly regretting the fact that I chose the Phoenix, who is up there. I don't, I don't know if you always, anyway, for people that can't see, there's a Phoenix behind me, but I'm like, oh my God, I literally chose an archetype that requires you to burn to the ground before you rise. And I'm like, anyway, but last year was all about that reclamation of that real empress, like the wild woman who's pregnant with possibility and is connected to the cycles of nature and is like, when you feel into the energy, at least for me, of an empress, like she's very still
Yeah.
and very receptive and is like on, like I'm like straightening my spine. Like I really feel that in my body. And yeah, when I started moving from that place, it is magical how quickly my reality lined up to, oh yeah, okay, you're being yourself. Let's just hand this to you. It's just a very long answer, but yeah, that was basically what happened at the beginning of last year. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. Quite
Yes,
the
I can relate. I mean, I think for the people who have been drawn to your work, they've been through that as well. So the Empress and the Phoenix, like that resonates so much with me. And we connected
Mhm.
over the last 12 months, but I feel like that has been my journey too. And I've would you agree this next wave of like rebels, not rebels,
Mhm.
well, we're reveling in it, but
Yes.
rebels and revolutionaries, like this is just what they've come out of?
Um, yeah, I do think so. I feel like there's a pattern in the people that are magnetized to my work who are recovering good girls, people pleasers, and like ticking the boxes of the done way of doing life.
Yep.
And I feel like there's a very natural questioning that happens in midlife that is this like, well, from a biological perspective, as we shift into middle age, our hormone system and our endocrine system and our neurological system all go through a shift. And the shift is very much about going from, an estrogen informed way of accommodation and taking care. And that doesn't matter whether we've had kids or not. That's just the way that, someone who's born female is wired in that sort of like 20s, 30s, 40s. But I've just turned 50, and all of a sudden, like about 3 years ago, I felt like the veil started to lift, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And why am I putting up with this shit? And I've got way less energy. And so I think that there is a natural midlife reclamation that taps on our shoulder. It doesn't mean that we say yes. But if you're a rebel or a revolutionary and you haven't let that out of the bag yet, it's almost like I can't put up with this shit anymore. I can't tolerate it. And I've got less estrogen running the like keeping, keep it all steady, keep it all peaceful, keep it all whatever. And you're all of a sudden going, like, if not now, when? Like, so I always kind of think, I feel like my ideal client, like I often say they're mad hatters because they're like the quirky, creative, witchy woo, like out of the box people. They're my people, often also neurosparkly like me. But I'm also getting more and more clear that it is often those people who've learnt to mask behind the roles and the right way to kind of make it in a neuronormative world, or in a world that doesn't really cater for people to be outside the box, outside the machine. And then all of a sudden they're like, if I haven't let that out yet, I'm like, I cannot not let it out anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's irresistible. Sorry, I'm just going to turn my phone off because it's just dinged. My apologies.
Yeah, so I mean that makes so much sense, and it is, I guess, like when you feel like you are wanting to just break through and really expand out, um, like two things need to happen simultaneously, because you do need to take the action, right? But then
Mhm.
you also need to do the energetic and the work for the body so it holds all of that in its container. And so you've talked about being tired and wired and running on fumes in the past. And there's some of the key like early signs that you need to recenter, right? And that you're about to hit like a burnout stage. So there is like a point where you need to stop and really anchor yourself in. Otherwise, it's kind of like sabotaging, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. And, that's always an option. Like that is the fork in the road moment, right? It's like, will I continue to do this, and will I continue to do harm to myself and abandon myself and who I really am and what I really want in my life? Or do I answer the call and actually, and I think for me, I'm really relating to what you're saying because my preconditioning and my way of being safe in my 20s and 30s was definitely working hard and ticking the boxes like a general manager by the time I was 26. Like I always climbing the ladder, and it totally came from this lack of internal sense of worthiness, which I can see and appreciate now, but back then it just felt like doing life right. But it was never sustainable. And that's the burnout thing. Like when you are doing something that is your design in your flow with your natural genius lit up, it's as easy as breathing. And when you're not, that is when it costs too much. And I think that we're just less willing to pay the cost, or maybe we just don't have, like, thank God for menopause. Like that totally, like, well, perimenopause brought me to my knees in terms of I couldn't continue to use the coping mechanisms I always had, which was to mask how I was feeling, working fucking hard.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything left in the tank. So thank God for that, because I would still be doing it. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't have entered this flow state. And don't get me wrong, this is not one and done. Like I still definitely get pulled back into that old way of being. I'm like, oh, here I am again. Reset. So yeah, it's definitely it's an ongoing journey, but I do feel like the older we get, the wiser we get to like, this is actually doing harm to myself. It isn't okay. And I'm not willing to pay the cost anymore. Whereas the
Yeah.
20-year-old version of me still got so much identity from the ticking the boxes and climbing the ladder and getting the, responsible job and the whatever. And I just, yeah, I can't be asked anymore, to be honest.
No, and it leads to burnout as well. I mean, like that's really what we're talking about, and it sneaks up on you if you're not paying attention. All
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, you're at burnout, and
Mm-hmm.
you just want to scream your head off for repeating that cycle again. And
Yes. Oh my God.
it's really interesting, right? Because even after all of this work and all of the self-care and the meditating and doing all of the other somatic things, I was in conversation with my mum the other day, and she was like, you know, I feel like you're doing too much. Like you're heading back into that cycle again. You know that, right? And I was like, whoa.
Mm.
If she's seeing it, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh my God, I am more I felt myself cycling back in to like just all the tasks and not
Yes.
being in
Oh,
the body and not listening to what my body is speaking. And that is what I really like about the work that you incorporate is you are asking all of your tribe, your collective, to listen to their body.
yep. Yep. And anchor,
Yeah.
like as you're talking, like this is the difference between, I used to be a mindset coach, which is really interesting to me because then this was like in the first iteration of my online business back in like 2011 to 2017. And I identified as a mindset coach. And now I look at the way that I move through the world and also the way that I coach. And I absolutely believe mindset coaching is valuable, but it still was not connecting me to my body, my somatic awareness, and how I could pull all of my energy and attention into this felt sense and feel where I was in relation to the universe and then shift from there because our brain is literally wired to protect us and make sure we survive.
Yeah.
So when we talk about voice and visibility, one of the things that I see all the time in my clients, like I've just got this absolutely beautiful, beautiful, or all of my clients are beautiful people, this lady is opening this new way of working with her. And she said today, I'm so excited about it. We've, worked on the copy of the sales page, written this love note, connected to this like essence of the offer. And she's like, but I still haven't shared it. And I'm like, please tell me more about that. And she's just like, oh, I just get this ick in my body. It is super, 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 super normal for our brain to connect being seen and making an offer with fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of it not working out, fear of whatever. And so we don't share. And it's a protective mechanism because our brain is running old, protection stories, right? And what I led her through, and this is part of her work in the world, and I will always say we're on the edge of our own evolution, right? And expansion. We're always only a couple of steps. And if you're ever working with someone who says, like, I've got it all sorted, I call bullshit. But I led her through a process of doing exactly what you're saying, like anchoring into my body, expanding out this bubble of universal energy, universal consciousness, and allowing that energy to work with me as an individual and inform what my next steps are.
Yep.
That is not using the brain at all. I mean, yes, the brain can get very chatty in there, but I also have ways of turning that off because that is, my monkey mind will do that all the time. But then trusting and building the muscle of like, you're not actually doing this by yourself. Like, you are not one individual and it is not all up to you. You have an entire, universal energy that your legacy work is meant to be part of the collective right now. Like, you have chosen to be alive right now for a reason, particularly as paradigm shifters. Like, our world is breaking, like the systems are breaking. We're here to create new ways of being, but we can't fucking do it if we're operating on this brain that can only create what it's always felt comfortable creating. And so to me, it's like connecting to your body and then connecting to the universal intelligence through that and the soul of your work. And then moving from there takes probably 80% off your to-do list.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's busy work versus genius work. And that's what I keep going back to. Are you actually doing genius work today? Or are you perfecting your color scheme on your website for the 58th time, to getting ready to get ready? Because that shit, staying in the mind's pattern will just give you more and more evidence that you don't have what it takes to create, a soulful, sustainable business if you haven't already created it, because you cannot create anything that you cannot conceive with the mind from the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get surprised that we can't do it. But yeah.
Absolutely. Like what I've what I've noticed for me in my journey is I have the vision. So the
Mhm,
vision would come.
mhm,
I'd be very diligent and brilliant at all of the execution, doing all of the things, the website,
mhm,
the
mhm,
offer, all of the implementation, no problems, and I'd put it out there.
mhm.
But what I didn't fully understand was that in the subconscious and in my actual, animal body, as you call it,
Yes.
I wasn't allowing myself to feel and hold it. And consciously, I would say I do want it. And this is why I love kinesiology, right? Because it's
Yes.
like I do want it. I do want the clients. I do want the things. But subconsciously, your body's going,
No fucking way.
"No." So, during the work that we've done together, I saw the morph of the deepening and the more of my expression coming out. But I have
Mhm.
noticed still there are still underlying stories that
Yep.
I have to continually tend to on the daily. And
100%.
this is the
Yes.
genius work, right? Tending to on the daily to support my nervous system,
Yep.
because my nervous system has a million different programs associated to my voice, to my being seen, to my attracting male clients in particular. That's my
Yes.
that's my niche. That most
Mhm,
CEOs are men.
mhm.
So I there's like multifaceted programs in my subconscious that
Mhm.
I have got to care for, like
Yes.
I'm having a shower and brushing my teeth.
Yes.
And that level of
Yes.
respect is is I feel like so discounted still, because you could do a lovely little meditation and some affirmations. That's very good. Beautiful. Doing some yoga, excellent. But
Mhm.
if you're not really paying attention to what is sitting there connected in the subconscious and merging the two into that work with your meditation and with your yoga and with everything else, I don't know that you can really. I think I think it can break through, but it is slow. But when
Yes.
you merge the two together, and that's what I learnt working with you, when you merge the
Mhm.
two together, you can fast track that, like you can kick it
Yes.
over.
Yeah, exactly. And as you're talking, like every single space that I always invite people into is always underpinned by what I call self-devotion.
Yeah.
And like, if you could, does this go on video?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to turn my camera around for anyone that is watching the video over, and you won't be able to see it because it's all in pencil. That entire chart is a self-devotion prescription. And I use that term very consciously. So people get excited about like mindset work or somatic work or energetic work, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go in and yeah, I'm going to do the yoga class. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Absolutely freaking beautiful. But you're a human houseplant. And if you are not meeting your own human needs daily and being devoted to being connected to the body, connected to your emotional and energetic bandwidth, really, really surrendered to your flow and your design. And this, I love folding in human design into everything as well, because I'm like, what works for you does not work for me. So it's about this. And I use devotion because to me, like self-care, well, it's been so used that it doesn't really mean anything anymore, right? Like it's like authenticity. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Because it's been used in marketing ad infinitum until we want to vomit in our mouths. So if we talk about devotion, like if you feel the energy of devotion, it's the tending to your human needs on the daily. And like my list includes basic things like I have a joint condition. To keep that under control, I need to drink 4 liters of water a day. It seems ridiculous as a 50-year-old woman to need a chart to tell me to do this. But when I get into the flow of creating something, I can very easily hyperfixate and I just don't stay in my body as well as what I do. And so I reverse engineer a system that works for me. And I don't always have a chart, but I've definitely kind of fallen off my devotional practices. The other thing that I would say too is that surface level practices give surface level results. What scares people about going into felt sense is that a lot of us have experiences, particularly as women, where our body has not necessarily been a safe place to stay and be. Or we have been conditioned to fear that deep, dark mystery, the wisdom, the intuition. I keep on closing my eyes, and the reason I do that is because I'm such a visual person that when I'm feeling into what I want to say, like that is actually one of the ways that I anchor into my wild woman rather than like, whoa, there's lots of feedback coming in. That's totally an autistic thing, I reckon. But like being connected and forming a relationship with the authentic core of you. And actually, like I use the word surrendering to your magnificence all the time. So much of what we are wanting to disconnect from, to really own our voice and go into the marketplace with these beautiful heart-led businesses that create a ripple of change and create, an exchange of cash flow and all of the things we desire for ourselves. That takes us owning our genius and surrendering to who we are. And also, I've got all these, like a map of like, where do I want to? But one thing that I feel is important to bring into this conversation is if you're a paradigm shifter, you're here to create new ways of being. You're here at this point in time. And also, if you are also midlife and hearing that wild woman call, that legacy work turn up, because that's definitely been my experience and a lot of the people I work with, you need to understand that you bringing your legacy to the world is actually not about you. So when we stay in our mind, the fear brain is trying to protect us from all the things that we think will harm these little, wounded parts stuck in time, if you use a kind of internal family systems kind of lens. And when you can actually rise above that and then connect to the authentic part of you, that is the truth of who you are, not the learned and conditioned and all of those things, not the roles that you play, then you actually can see that this fabric of energies that is on the planet right now, like if you don't deliver your gift to the world, then you're leaving a hole in this lattice of energy that's meant to be knitting together to bring us into a new age and to bring us new ways of being that are more healthy and less harmful. But then our brain gets involved and then it interrupts this, like we connect to the legacy work, we connect to this feeling, and then the day-to-day humaning snaps us back into deconditioning. And so to me, that self-devotion practice is a constant connection with the wild woman. I use wild woman, other people say authentic self, other people say self with a capital S, whatever language you use, I don't care. The truth of who you are, who is surrendered to your magnificence and does understand that the work that you're being called to do is for a reason, connecting to that on the daily, and also, as you said, doing the energetic and emotional expansion work. And I use work consciously as well because it is a learned, repetitive muscle building that takes devotion. It's not a one size fits all quick fix bullshit that, lots of people will say there is, because this is not like building a business, and particularly a paradigm shifting business, is not about only experiencing all the joy, all the contribution, all the love, all the everything. It's actually expanding your capacity to hold the terrified and the elated and the discombobulated and the, oh, fuck, that this like evolution that I'm being called into is way bigger and I'm scared to step into that power, and all the challenge and then all the triumph. So it's not about it gets better and better and better. It's about it gets more and more and more an expanded, fuller way of experiencing yourself
Yeah.
and then the world of business. I know I've just gone on a rant, so please bring me back
No,
to wherever
no,
you
that
want
was
me to be.
no, oh my God. Oh, my brain hurts. That was fire. That just feels like I just felt like this energy of like fire just rising. That was so juicy.
Mm,
I take a breath. I
mm,
First of all, I feel like that work that you're talking about and that daily devotion, it is a choice that you get to make, right? It's a
yes.
choice about how you're choosing to live and
Hmm.
how you're choosing to respect yourself and
Yep.
your work and your legacy. And you're right, your legacy and your purpose isn't about you, but in tandem, like you were
Hmm.
saying, the body does go into a freak out, going, "Oh my God, I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to be abused. I'm going to have hate. People are going to reject me. People aren't going to participate, all the things."
Hmm.
But once you start to do um, the devotional work with yourself, that slowly, very slowly
Yes.
starts to calm down. It
Yes.
doesn't go. I'm not sure that it will ever really go. I can't see a time where it will because we're seeing things in the world that are keeping us like beautifully this morning, I
Hmm.
saw a post where someone was saying that we're going to have a cybersecurity attack and we're going to have a blackout. And are you prepared? It was a doom,
Yep. Yep.
positioning. Now, we know lots of different things happen in the world, but immediately I could feel like the tension in me because all my work is online and
Yeah.
I
It's
like other
contracting.
than the in-person work that I do with organizations, but it is
Hmm.
online. So I was like, right?
Hmm.
So because we're taking in information externally, I don't know that you're ever going to be a completely blank slate in that regard. So
Yep.
that's why the daily stuff is good. But I feel like eventually when you start to get into a bit of a routine with it, it
Hmm.
starts to calm down and
Absolutely.
it becomes more a curiosity with what is being felt today
Yes.
rather than, oh no, I've got so many things to undo, so many things to break through.
Yep.
And
100%.
so I feel like when you are in this place of, reverence with yourself in that devotion,
Hmm.
then you can go, okay, now I'll take action. Now that I've
Hmm.
acknowledged all of those things and I've been in my body and I've felt the expansiveness,
Yep.
then, and this is what you were saying, now
Mm.
I can be productive.
Yes.
Now I can just let things flow because
Yes.
I know I am already in my power. I'm already
Hmm.
in that truth. I'm
Yes.
anchored in that full alignment,
Yes.
grounded and universally like a beautiful channel for it
Hmm.
all. Now I'll take some action and whatever happens, happens.
Yes.
And that part is also part of why that energetic expansiveness needs to be tended to as well, because there is an internal fight when you're being productive and
Yes.
you're putting offers out there and you're doing all of these hundreds of things and you're putting your genius out there. And then when nothing happens,
Hmm.
right? And I don't feel
Hmm.
like this is talked about enough. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
And that's
100%.
okay as well,
Yep.
right? It's not your
Hmm.
business. It's not your fucking business what
Yes.
happens with it, right? It just isn't. It's none of your fucking business. You might want, 10, 100, 1,000 people signing up. It is not your business. You are a
100%.
channel for
100%.
creation and you just put it out and it does not matter. And when I used to paint, I learnt that a lot. Right? I just learnt that whatever was
Mm.
going to happen with it was going to happen with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Take your
But
hands
I've
off
I've
the.
had to I've had to really pull that in and it's been really interesting because some times you don't know why things are or aren't happening for you right now. Doesn't
100%.
mean what you've created and put out there wasn't worth anything or doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it needs to be in an incubator. Sometimes
Yes.
it needs some refinement. Sometimes it's your energetic capacity that still needs to grow. Sometimes it's the universe saying it's not time yet.
Yes. Oh my God. This is like so much of what you're saying. So if you anchor into, I'm here to unfold my legacy work in the world, there is no race. There is no time frame. There is no success blueprint. Your job is to show up, connect to the universal consciousness and connect to who you are. Like I keep on saying, remember who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Like, remember who the fuck you are. And then there is also, this actually dropped into me for me when, because I'm actually in a launch at the moment and I have been just, it's been such a beautiful awareness of myself because as you're saying, like you put something out there that you think will have this, not necessarily that you think will have this magical response, but it feels like it's like, the next iteration. And the launch that I'm in, which hilariously is about exactly what we're talking about, there hasn't been the response that I expected. But I am so anchored in, I'm here to unfurl a legacy. I have taken the action that because I've actually what I call lazy launch this time. So usually the doer in me would have an entire launch plan. It would be over engineered. And I was just like, I don't fucking have the capacity for that. So I didn't do a live event. I did a pre-recorded masterclass. I'm also, my design is like 3-5. So I'm meant to literally be like trying it on for size, trial and error learning, like breaking it, fucking it up, and then coming back and teaching other people how to not make the same mistake, right? So if I'm trying to protect myself from making mistakes, I'm actually not in my genius zone because my genius is about breaking things,
Yeah.
learning, and then distilling the learning. And so I I'm not getting the response that I expected, but I have been watching myself going, okay, there's obviously an unfolding that I'm not aware of in my conscious, in my especially with if my brain was switched on and I was attached to that way of because what I used to do, and there's actually I'm just connecting this as we're talking, the overcomplicated launch plan was about trying to resource myself with a semblance of safety and control, right?
Yep.
And that's a learned mechanism. Like that's growing up in a chaotic environment, you learn to lock everything down so you can feel safe. And so this time I'm like, I'm literally connecting to the energy of this offering, dropping into my body, you know, feeling it as an energetic source and asking it what the next step is. And I've just unfolded. And so to me, it feels like a very lazy way of launching because to me, that's as easy as fucking breathing these days because I've done it for so long. But the thing that I realized on the weekend, and this is the difference between these two ways of being, is that we make the same mistake with our business of when we are seeking a partner from the lens of this person will fix all of the things for me. They will be the provider of all of my needs. So as business owners, we make the same fucking mistake.
Yep.
So what are you actually looking for with your attachment to a particular result? Is it a feeling of success? Is it a feeling of belonging? Is it a feeling of safety? Is it a feeling of like, oh, I'm worthy. I had this good result. And when you start doing this work, you become so much less attached to the result because if the result is 500 people in a circle or the result is 5 people in a circle, it actually means exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It is just an unfolding. And so I sleep on the back of our motorbike all the time, which people think is insane. But for a neurosparkly person, a bike, like the faster we're going, the more relaxed I get. So I had to sleep on the back of our motorbike after breakfast on Sunday. And I was like, oh my God, me in my old version of approaching business without folding this energetic and somatic stuff in was like being off the motorbike being the soul of my business, who's trying to go in a particular way. And I'm like literally holding onto the back of the bike, trying to manhandle it with my control and safety seeking. And it was because I have always had this like fearful, avoidant kind of like, if you think about attachment styles, I was not securely attached to my business because I was attached to it providing me something and for it to only be in a certain energetic frequency. Like it had to be push pull, it had to be grinding, it had to be working hard because that's my conditioning. And now the feeling of this launch is like being on the back of a bike with someone who you absolutely trust in charge. Because the only reason I sleep on the back of a bike is because my husband's like, I completely trust him at the wheel, right?
Yeah.
But we can source that trust in the universal unfolding and our legacy work the same way. And so you
Yes.
don't have to be attached to the outcome.
Oh my God, yes.
And so I'm like, oh my God, it's attachment. It's as stupid as expecting a man to fix all of like it is your personal responsibility to resource yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a sense of safety or a sense of success or a sense of worthiness in your business, stop fucking doing what you're doing and go inwards and resource yourself with that. And that is a learned thing to do. But like, stop looking for all of the things that you think will make you okay in the world externally, because they don't come from external people. They don't come from your business. They don't come from your clients. And if they are, it is 100% not sustainable.
I
So you're
mean,
leading,
that
you know.
that is fucking genius. That is genius. I'm sorry, but it is, all right? That's not me pumping up your tires. That is
Yeah.
actual genius because you're right. Your business is its own energy and entity. It is separate from you.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
not you.
No.
And when I look at um, how I've connected to, and I bet this is for the majority,
Mhm.
our identity,
Yes.
when we feel like things are missing,
Mhm.
and I've been single for a while. My identity was morphed into work because it was like, well, if I've got all of this success, right, and I'm
Mhm.
doing all of these
I'll
things,
be more attractive.
oh, like not only that, but people won't think I'm lonely. People won't think like, oh, well, she doesn't have a partner.
Ah.
She doesn't have this. She doesn't have that. She does. Oh, she never got to have any kids. Do you know what I
See
mean?
the
And all the like the
story.
pity bullshit, right? So I kind of like, you don't even realize how anxious attachment you become with your business,
Hmm.
and you're right. It is another relationship. It is like being in a relationship with your partner, right? It is a partner of you. It isn't you.
Hmm.
And when you respect it like that and you feel
Hmm.
secure in yourself, and that comes with doing all of that work that feels calm,
Hmm.
then it doesn't matter what happens because you're not trying to make it give you something, whether
Exactly.
it's money, whether it's recognition, whether it's attention, whatever it is, it
Yep.
doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It can just be whatever it is, but you're not coming out of alignment with your worth, with your
Yes.
self-belief. And
Yes.
for me, I feel like I'm especially challenged in what you were saying about the human design part as well. As a
Hmm.
projector, I can't operate like everyone else. I'm awaiting for the invitation, which means I have to sit and wait and trust.
Hmm.
And so me too, right now I have an offer out and it's like, well, where's my people? And so that I can feel like if I don't do that work where I am in that self devotion and in that practice and in that secure attachment, I start getting really fucking antsy. Like I can get antsy quicker than lighting a match
Yep.
into where,
Yep.
when,
Me too.
how, what. And it's like, well, actually, first of all, you're not taking into account the universe's plan for you, right? Which is not a woo-woo thing, that's facts. You don't
Yep.
you don't actually know whether that's going to be replaced by something greater. You don't
That
know
you
what's going to
cannot
happen. It could be
conceive.
700 things. And you're going to drive yourself bonkers, right? And end up in a ball of anxiety before you can finish the minute of those
Yeah,
thoughts.
100%.
Automatically, you go from calm and secure to,
Yep,
and
exactly.
that is no good because that energy is feeding. And so that is why you must, and it is like being an entrepreneur, and you've said this as well, it's messy and
Yeah,
it's
what should you?
magical and it's messy and it's magical again. And in the mess,
Exactly.
you find the magic and you go, oh my God, yeah, oh, that feels so good now. And then it's messy
Mhm.
again.
Yes, exactly. And as you're talking, like when you were saying before, 'cause this is something that if someone is like very new to kind of this concept of this external consciousness and that you're supported and the universe is like conspiring to support you, one of the things that I love to teach people how to do is a very simple practice of just a grounding cord to the center of the earth, connected to that beautiful hug of gravity and the support and that, everything that comes with literally being here, having a place in time
Yep.
and space right here, wherever you are in the world. And also being connected to that universal consciousness and practicing this beautiful capacity that we have to literally open up and invite in a channel of energy that is completely, it is there all the time. It's a resource that's all available. And then to have that deeply rooted, connected to the, big picture unfolding as this, it's like I used to describe it as like having like, well, you will understand this reference point as well. And I'm not sure if other people outside of Australia, but do you remember years and years ago, there was an America's Cup boat and it had this really big keel and it was like this big, huge, like, oh, that's in the rules, right? Because the keel was almost as big and like into the ocean as what the mast and the my God, I don't know anything about sailing, so I'm butchering this description. But to me, the analogy is this work, this anchoring and grounding, and also connection is this deep keel. So no matter what the ocean of your life and your business is doing, that you can maintain this, you're not going to change the fact that the ocean will serve you up whatever conditions because a lot of that is outside of our control.
Yep.
No one can control what the crazy government people are doing or whatever necessarily. I mean, we can all do our bit about that, but you know having that even keel. And because when you're talking about like when the conditioning kicks in, when the and I'm only just really delving into at a depth with my mastermind group with the human design and how that plays out and really understanding that. It's like we are not all meant to do this the same.
Yep.
And it is actually our uniqueness. And I'm a geneticist by training. I think I said this in our last interview, but it's calling to me to say again, we are a miracle because we are here. There is billions of different biochemical and genetic events that have to go right for us to be even conceived, let alone grow to a full human, let alone be birthed, reasonably healthily, let alone, be here as an adult, right? So you can argue against this all you want, but every single one of us is a miracle, and genetically, and also I would say energetically, because I believe in frequency, there is never, ever going to be and never has been another person exactly the same as us. We are unique. So why do we continue to think that our way of moving through the world, sharing our businesses, sharing our gifts, even to the types of offers and the like so much of the coaching world is just a replication of something that worked for someone else? And I'm like, fuck that. Does it feel good for you? Do you actually like that way of working with people? And who do you actually want to work with? Like, not
Yeah.
the people that feel safe to work with, or the people that you are used to working with, or the people that you've got experience working with. Like, if your legacy work is calling you to a new evolution, the more you lean into that uniqueness
Yeah.
and be informed by your desires, the more like business just feels so much easier when you're just being yourself. Like for years,
100%.
I tried not
Yeah.
to swear, right?
Yeah.
I swear all the fucking time to the point where when my kids, I've got two daughters, 19 and 20, and when my kids were like, really listening in and starting to repeat everything, my husband would be continually saying, for God's sake, Kylie, like, can you tone it down? I just can't. It is
Yeah.
my way of expressing myself. And fuck has so many different uses. Like, it's so good. But when I stopped apologizing for being myself, and I know swearing is a tiny micro example, it just released so much power that I had, like, connected to trying not to be myself in that particular way.
Yeah.
And when we release all of that and when we truly surrender to who we are, and yes, it takes an enormous amount of trust to live like this because it is not normal to live like this. It's not normal, as in air quote, very heavily normal, is not inside the matrix,
Yeah.
but we're paradigm shifters. We're not here to create something that's already being done. And we're
Totally.
not here to proliferate systems of oppression. And that's the other thing that I feel like is so important in this conversation. When you are rinse and repeating someone else's model, or when you are thinking you don't have the answers and you go looking for the answers outside of yourself, you are in dire danger of repeating systems of oppression, because the
Yeah.
vast majority of businesses, particularly if they're coaching, healing, helping, is no, so actually not so much healing, but the coaching end of the spectrum. And I just wrote a post about this that's still reverberating through the internet called, yeah, the pyramid scheme. But anyway, that's a whole other kettle of fish, is just repeating a harmful system of oppression that says you as the coachee does not have the answer and you are somehow broken and I need to fix you. And so therefore I have more power and I am the guru and you need to put me on a pedestal. And I'm like, no, because one of my key beliefs, and as it is with the majority of people that I work with, and also very common in neurosparkly people, is equity for all, liberation for all, justice for all, not just for the fucking people in power or positions that have been, self-appointed or have been appointed. And so if you really looked at your business and actually filtered everything through your own value system and your own beliefs, particularly if one of them is about liberation for all, I'm almost willing to bet that the majority of people listening will have tendrils in their business that are not aligned to who they are.
Yep.
And so not only do you have this conditioned part of you trying to protect, you've also got a part in your heart that's like, that actually doesn't feel good for me. If I'm really honest with myself, I don't feel good going out saying, I'm going to fix you, you're somehow broken.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with any of us. We
Yeah.
are learning how to be a human in a skin suit that originally chose a legacy purpose. Absolutely. And that comes with conditioning and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with us.
No, no. And do you know what? It's not even just, the coaches
Mm,
coaching coaches to be
mhm,
coaches. It's actually even, it extends out, and this happened to me recently,
mhm,
where other people share their ideas for what you should do as well. So friends, family members, people that you meet, right? And I'm one of those because I am a projector.
You've
I
got,
and I'm
yes,
very visual. One of my gifts is feel, like the
see. Yep.
intuitive feel, but also I can see.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
they'll tell me the idea and I see it. And so this happened not even that long ago.
mhm,
It was like, oh, you should do this. And I was like, oh yeah, I can. And I got very excited about it, very, very excited. And off I went and created this program, this offer, all
mhm,
like hours and hours and hours and hours of this work, put it on the website, did all the things, was about did my all of the back end follow up and implementation and all of the things,
mhm.
right, the funnel, all of it, and was just about to launch the webinar to kick it off.
Yeah.
And I just something was just wasn't right. I didn't feel excited about it, but I was like, I need to do this because
Mhm,
this is going to give
mhm,
me this and that and the blah blah blahs.
mhm,
And it wasn't a disconnect from what I'm doing from a work perspective, but it was another arm, right? And I
mhm,
had set all the things to launch it, and I
mhm,
went to bed and I woke up and I went, I don't want to do this. I don't actually want to do this work at all. I
Yeah.
don't actually
Yeah.
want to put this offer out there. I don't want to help people in this way. None of this is going to bring me joy. I don't want this. So I cancelled
Mhm.
everything. And I removed it. Haven't
Yes.
deleted it because maybe one day when my
Yeah.
light bulb
Maybe it might
goes
morph
off that
into
I want to
something.
do it, it's already done.
Yes.
And I don't have, future me will say, well done. But
Yes.
for
Yeah.
right now, absolutely not. So those ideas, we're being influenced in because people get
Yeah.
excited for us, right?
Yes.
So it's not like they're trying to harm us or anything. They're very excited and they can see your genius and they're
Hmm.
like, here, you should do this, you should do that. And
Hmm.
but did I take any time really to sit in that devotion with myself to see if I really wanted to do that? Or did I have the vision, see that it could happen, and off I went with it? That's a disconnect. And I think again, that is not even something people are talking about right now. I don't think people are really sharing about how these external distractions
Hmm.
come up for you. And it was a distraction. It was a good month of distraction.
Yeah. 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 And if I was to put myself in the same story, that distraction feels like I'm getting somewhere. So it's actually just mentally masturbating. Let's like really, it is scratching an itch in me that needs me to be doing to feel like I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And the more I like, it's so funny. I've just started training with someone in a multiple energy modalities, and when we had the opening call, we did a process, not going to share outside of that circle, but did a process where we, tapped into a message from universal energy. And my message literally, and you can see it everywhere I am, I actually am forward in my body posture. I'm very future focused. And the energy actually literally put a hand on my forehead and went, lean back, lean way back. And I was like, but then how do I mentally masturbate? Because if I'm not taking action, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And that doesn't satisfy me. So it's that like being aware, like this is where it's like, know your patterns, see them with lots of
Yeah.
self-compassion, and create intentional pauses, which is, part of that self-devotion of like, can I just check in here? And I feel like from a human design perspective, again, like understanding where you're wide open and can be easily influenced, and as a projector, even more so, um, knowing that that can happen. And that is also where your genius lies, like all of those open centers of you can really, like for you working with clients, they're where your superpowers lie as well, as long as you're deconditioning. But understanding that that is part of a pattern is really important, because then you can interrupt it and go, okay, hang on a minute. Let's just talk to the wild woman. It's funny, many, many years ago when I had like a start of a human design reading, one of the things that that person said to me, because I had just changed jobs again, and this is a perfect example of how this used to play out for me. I would get bored and unenthused. I'm like very quick to master things, and then I get very bored. I'm like, all right, done. What's next? I've had literally, and I'm not exaggerating, 17 different careers, 17, like distinct, discrete, different careers. And so when I became dissatisfied or frustrated, which is a generator out of alignment, I would go, I know what I'll do. I'll get myself busy and I'll look for another job, and that will be the fix. So insert mental masturbation, obsess with what jobs were around and tapping my network to see what else was, and then swapping jobs. It never, ever, ever opened up what I really wanted, which was a sense of agency, sovereignty, and freedom. Because as an employee, you don't, by definition, have those things.
Yeah.
So that was a pattern for me. So it just understanding when you start something from and out of your authentic self, or the other way of saying that, and the way that this reader said to me is, when you trace this decision to join this specific organization, was that decision made from fear or from love? And I'm like, oh, fear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% of the time. And so that's another way of, I find that a quite powerful question for clients of like, am I in fear or, acting from conditioned parts of me or wounded parts that have got protectors over the top of them?
Mm.
Is my brain running interference trying to protect myself? Or am I in the fullness of my wild woman self and acting from love and potential and expansion and um unfurling of my legacy? And
Yeah.
actually something else to speak to what we were talking about before, I feel like it's a furphy that people are fed from the marketing machine out there that's like quantum leaping. And so there's this, the overuse of quantum leaping. I want to stick a fork in my eye repeatedly. But apart from that, when we understand that the natural flow of the universe is expansion and contraction. As a wave builds up and crests, it breaks, and then there's an ebb. We are not meant to always be in a season of this crazy growth and quantum leaping, no matter what the fucking marketing machine and magic pill coaching land will
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
Because guaranteed, if that's the message, there's someone selling you a $25,000 mastermind off the back of that where you get fuck all one-on-one support. And anyway, that's my cranky part turning up. But like, just understanding like, where are you making decisions from in your
Yeah.
business?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm getting so much better from a coaching perspective because I don't actually identify with coach now because there's
Yeah.
so many, for me, negative connotations. But what I'm very mindful of is even when someone, like when we're in a mastermind situation or one-on-one, would you mind if I make an observation? Because the permission there is often enough for people to go, oh, I was going down that track of like, and so it disconnects from this, like you need someone external to you to even show you the patterns and just allows that little pattern interrupter pause of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And when you can be in yourself more and more, and again, we're coming back to that devotional thing, then you have a somatic sense of how you feel when you're in the fullness
Yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, the leaning back physically is actually definitely one of the somatic anchors for me of like, if I'm forward thrusting, like I have a sore neck a lot of the time because I even posturally am very forward focused. And that has got to do with neck stuff. But anyway, that's a whole other kettle of fish. It's just another somatic connection for me to go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am again holding the motorbike one-handed, trying to drag it in another direction. And I'm not leaning back and I'm not trusting. And I'm not understanding that, I had a huge month last December. And I reckon I've spent like 3 months in a contraction phase because it scared the absolute fuck out of me,
Yeah.
very honestly, because it was a lot to hold, but also was like, I don't have the energy to keep this up. And that is a fear response. And so I snapped back into comfort zone or
Yeah.
the somatic set point of where feels comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's just feedback to me to say, okay, there's more work to be done in this expansion and in this building of the trust because it doesn't just happen overnight, no matter what magic pill anyone is, anyway, don't get me started with that rant because, yeah, I'm so against the ways in which marketing is done in terms of this positioning that this tool is the answer to everything working. That is as
Yeah.
stupid as looking for the man to do that or your
Yeah.
business to do that. Like it
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's stop believing that. Like if it was easy to step into your legacy work and own your genius and speak your truth, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it
But
would be easy.
but everyone, there are plenty of people out there who are who make it they make you believe that it is easy,
Yeah.
right? And there's a new wave. What I'm seeing is there's a new wave of language that is coming through where they're resourcing AI, which is fine, right? Because it's a good tool, it's a good
Sure.
admin tool.
Yep.
It's got its time and its place. I've
Mm-hmm.
softened my thoughts about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's this new wave of here's another magic pill for
Mhm.
you, right? And it's still not, it's still not creating a self-trust that your genius is enough. And that's why I think your work is so different and why I love talking to you and your work resonates with me is because every single time it's not you giving the magic pill remedy, you are actually reminding all of the people that you work with and it's in every program and offering that you have
Mhm.
is here's how to anchor in to remember your
Who
own
the fuck you
wisdom.
are.
Yeah, and who the fuck you are. But here's how to anchor into your own wisdom.
Yeah,
Your wisdom isn't coming from me. And that's why you even pivoted your copywriting, right? Because you're copywriting
100%.
for clients. Because you're like, well, no, that doesn't actually resonate with how I want to teach. But there is a new wave that's different from the coaches teaching
Hmm.
the coaches how to coach. I've just noticed, and it's all about luxury and all of the things. And that's
Yeah,
very sexy and very appealing, but it's still playing on people wanting to know how to grow wealth outside of themselves.
correct.
When actually, before you use AI, right, use it. Absolutely refine your message using it by asking it the right questions, a
Yes.
1000%.
Hmm.
However, do you know your own wisdom first, though? Do you even know what your
Correct.
subconscious is
Yes.
is saying and fighting against what your conscious brain is saying? Do you know where your nervous system is? Do you know where your energetic capacity is? When
Mhm.
you think about putting that offer out there, where does your energy expand out to? Like so
Yes.
many hundreds of things before you even get to that point. So
Yeah.
it's still making it seem very easy. But
Hmm.
this work, this legacy work, this revolutionary work, this rebellion work, this paradigm shifting work is not easy. Like and that like it like
Nope.
it's seriously it does my fucking head in. And so it's always been the thing that's like really like bothered me a lot. And there was a time when I thought that my work was teaching people this, and it's not,
Mhm.
right? It is good because I just thought, well, I want to fix it, but I actually just needed to fix it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has the opportunity to fix it for themselves.
Hmm.
And we've
Hmm.
got genius people like you out there who are facilitating that, and that's awesome. But my clients, these CEOs, they're just at the beginning stages of like
Yes.
they are already very good at what they do, but they are not anchored in.
Yeah.
There's no self-care. So mine's more like the soothe aspect for them. And
Yes.
that's fine. But it's not this work there is nothing easy about this at all. And if you're doing it properly and you're doing it from a place of integrity and true
Hmm.
channeled wisdom, your own blueprint, it is not easy. There is not like we were saying, it's messy and it's magical, and it's messy and it's
Correct.
magical, and it's delusional and it's
Hmm.
awesome and it's an ocean, and then you feel like you're drowning. And then
Yeah.
you come back out of it and you're like, oh, I wasn't really, was I? I wasn't
No.
really drowning. No. And look at how much I've grown now. Now I'm on a bigger boat, and
Yeah, exactly. And look
you
what I can hold. Yes.
look at what
I,
I can
I
hold now.
I feel like the luxury thing, like I'm a very simple living person. I live in the country. We have a normal, like a small cottagey house. We grow our own food. I've always been someone who likes like simplicity is luxury to me. That's my version of luxury. And so I have never been turned on by all of that social media kind of buy the fancy bag and blah, 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 blah. But to me, it comes back to the same. It's the systems of oppression because the messaging is the same as like the diet industry or the beauty industry or the anti-aging industry. It is, in essence, the way that you move through the world and the stuff you have right now is not right or it's broken or you've got not enough of it. And this thing external to you will make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like no one else externally, no thing, no person can give that to you. And if you are looking outside of yourself, like just stop, because you could, like literally, I looked outside of myself for these things for literally decades. Like save yourself the time, save yourself the hassle, and be truthful to who you are. And know also that, all this messaging that we're exposed to, I feel like coming back to your point before about that sort of, seeing things about the doomsday thing. I'm like extremely protective of the information I'm exposed to. And that is partly a trauma response to being a forensic biologist and seeing the worst that people do day in, day out, including to kids, because that was where I used to focus my time. When we decided to have children, I was like, I can't have that in my awareness. I just cannot have that version of the world active in my brain when I'm deciding to bring babies into the world. Like I just can't. And I actually took a long time to fall pregnant, and I really believe that that was part of the block. So I don't watch the news. I don't, like, I'm very disconnected from what people would think is as aware of world event type of things. And one of the reasons that is because I feel things so deeply that sometimes that will just choke me. Like I cannot, and maybe this would be different now, but when I made the decision to not be exposed to that sort of stuff, and also to be really, really specific about who I follow on social media and how much time I spend on social media, because all that external messaging and all that external exposure, it is part of the, like, the ocean that we live in. And so if that ocean is making you feel less than, you're automatically operating from fear anyway. So
Yeah.
you're actually putting yourself in harm's way. And that's what I'll say to clients. Don't put yourself in harm's way.
Yeah.
If that person, like, and I feel like there's, like, I'm often talking about the difference between being triggered and activated, because, triggering and the concept of triggering, I feel like has been diluted again with social media. And that, I would never want someone to expose themselves to being completely outside of their window of tolerance and shut down or dissociate or, want to punch someone or whatever. However, I feel like there is a difference between a real trigger, which then creates that response, and an activation of, like, you're being invited to lean into the edge of where your capacity is at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But sorry, I've lost my train of thought. The environmental, like what you're exposing yourself to, is really important to understand.
Totally.
And the messages, like, look underneath the messages that you're looking at. Like, if you, like, rather than reading, like looking at the picture and being excited about the whatever lifestyle, actually really feel, and I know that this is, it's easier for some sensory beings than others, so I get that. But if you're a paradigm shifter, you already have the ability to see patterns and feel energy and get underneath what is said. Get underneath what you're exposing yourself to and filter it through your wild woman. Like, do this resource and get into that wild woman state and then feel into that. And you will very clearly know what the, and I feel like something else that's been kind of in my field at the moment is, part of me wants to start talking about slow business.
Yeah.
And the reason why is all of these quick fixes and all of this, like, magic pill stuff, it's literally designed to have you acting from fear, from a place of missing out, or like, I'm not okay to do this by myself, and this is going to be the magic pill, and this will be what. And so it's more mental masturbation, more time and energy spent externalizing your results and anchoring them to someone else. And so the desire to be growing fast and quantum leaping, to me, is this furphy that almost automatically takes you off course from being yourself. And I'm like, so, okay, there's lots of people that are talking about slow living and slow parenting and slow whatever. What if we applied slowness to our business? And what if we just understood, and this also comes back to the, like, $50,000 months or $100,000 a month, like that, externalized, like the money is the measure of your success. What if the measure of your success was being in alignment to who you really were? And so to me, one of my deepest desires is to feel joy, simplicity, freedom, and to know that I'm acting with integrity. So if I have to be out of my integrity to get that fast result in the $50,000 a month, I don't fucking want it.
Yeah, yeah,
And being okay with this being an unfolding over time. And so maybe you take 3 years to get to your first $100,000 a year. Does it matter if you are still aligned to who you are? And in fact, I would say, what if trusting yourself earlier meant that your unfolding was at exactly the timing that you're meant to,
yeah,
and that you would be exposing yourself to less external mental masturbation, creating bullshit,
yeah.
and more deliciousness in actually getting to know who the fuck you are underneath all of the messages.
Absolutely. And I think that the sort of the question is when you are anchored into
Mhm.
that wild woman, higher self version of you,
Mhm.
what is real wealth? I'm being,
Yes.
there's too many W's. What is
Yes.
real wealth to that version of you?
Yeah.
Like, what is wealth to that version, right?
100%.
Without
Yeah.
all of the external things. Like I'm like nothing turns me on more than interior design and editorial style images. You can
Yes.
sort of get that feel a bit from my the things that I post and
Yeah.
the sort of
The
that my that's
branding
my
feel.
feel, right? I love it, right? Like all of that look turns me on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about real, I don't associate that to wealth. It just
Mm-hmm.
feels good to me, right? It
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
like a comforting blanket. But
Mm-hmm.
real wealth isn't posing with a handbag. It isn't posing with a plane or a Porsche. Or even though I'd love a Porsche, right? But it's not because of what it means to have
Mm-hmm.
one, and it's not to go look at what I can buy. It
No.
is the feel of being in with that motor that's humming in that way and the way
Yes.
it handles and the rebellion, right?
Yes.
It's not actually the car.
No.
And and even without that, true wealth for me is, again, what you were saying. It is integrity. It is knowing that I am in complete joy. I feel calm in my body. There's a softness there. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm able to speak without holding myself back. Like what, and this is for our audience as well. Like right now, like anchor into that truest version of you, that future version that you perceive is outside of you, which is actually in.
In.
What is
Yes.
real wealth to that person? And stop
Yeah.
distracting yourself with all the external bullshit. Like, really?
And I think like I asked this question in a wealth and worth activation I ran at the beginning of this year called Paid. What are you looking to money to solve? Exactly like we were talking about the man and the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
What do you think having more money, more, yeah, let's just keep it to money rather than the bigger wealth picture. What do you think having more money will give you?
Yeah.
And then how can you resource yourself with that
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Because we have set ourselves up to, it's like, I need that before I can get that. And that's actually not how it works.
Yeah.
Like to me, when I feel about like more cash flow flowing in, there's actually the desire under that is like, it's all got to do with choice, freedom, definitely sovereignty, because there's a part of me that never ever wants to, have to externally um, depend on something. Like I love to be like that's a very Aquarian thing. It's a very individual, like energy. But there's also, more money would mean travel, but one of my key values is adventure and
Yeah.
beginner's mind, like marinating in a new landscape, tasting new food. I love the feeling of being in a city I've never been in before and just heading out the door and going left or right
Yeah.
at each, that's how I
Yeah.
lived in New York for a few months solo many, many years ago. And that's how I moved through New York. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much to taste to try. And so exciting. But like, so for me, like more money, if I look at it, in the ways that I used to move towards creating more wealth, it was, and there's actually, as I'm talking, there's another awareness, which is more money equals more relaxation,
Yeah.
because my conditioning is driving hard,
Yeah.
self-sacrificing, not being devoted to myself, making everything external to me what makes me feel good, and therefore is the way I'm moving through the world. And so, okay, so how can I give myself more sense of adventure, freedom, sovereignty, and deep rest
Yeah.
that I'm connecting to having to get money to do? I can resource all of that for myself.
Yeah.
And then the truth of it is, when you are more fully in yourself, our natural state is to have abundance flow in and out of our field
Totally.
anyway.
Totally. Totally.
So the work is really about, what do you perceive you don't have now? And instead
Yeah.
of going looking for a fucking magic pill outside of yourself,
Yeah.
ask yourself the question, how could I resource that for myself right now in my life?
Yeah.
And as I'm talking, like the adventure piece, it's like I'm just about to, what is the day? Yeah, in exactly, can't even see that without glasses on. It's the 8th, isn't it? Yes, I
Yeah.
should know. My cart closes today. You would think I would know that. See how lazy launching I am? I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Um, so my husband and I celebrate 25 years married on the 6th of May. And so our plan was to do this huge, like extravagant overseas everything. And just recently, because there's lots of other stuff going on with parental ends of things for both of us, we were just like, you know what we actually really truly desire is like a month in Thailand or Vietnam, just on a beach where we just can
Veg.
just decide each day to
Yeah.
just respond to whatever's in our field. So, lots of reading and swimming for me, lots of it. And so she, like, understanding what you can open up for yourself. And often it actually doesn't take, I mean, that's a bad example because that does take obviously money to pay for flights and whatever.
Yeah.
But how can you access, like, if you love adventure, go take yourself a different way somewhere, or go
Yeah.
somewhere new, or take yourself to a new
Yeah.
park with a new book or a new magazine
Yeah.
and do something that you never do, because we can give ourselves what we need. And this whole system of oppression and conditioning that we live inside of, which, patriarchy, social gender socialization of, like, women always having to provide stuff for other people, but also the entire industrial relations matrix is designed to keep us
Yeah.
grinding and not in our power and our magic. And that is
Yeah.
another thing that with women, the thing that scares us more than anything else is actually being as powerful as what we really are,
Yeah. Yep.
because that comes with
So
all sorts
true.
of,
so true.
and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
surrender to
oh,
your magnificence, stay in your genius,
yeah.
stop looking outside of yourself. It's just like, I love that we're saying these in a like tick box, like this will be very simple. Fuck. Like, it's a lifetime of
Well,
work.
this is
Let's,
the blueprint. That you can't go wrong when you're doing that though. And it is true. Like when you see
Mhm.
a social media post that you think, oh, and you can feel your energy like drawing you out of your body,
Mhm.
right? For like to grab, to screenshot, to save. Stop. Wait, whoa, what? Ask yourself, what is it about this that is luring me out of what I know to be true for me? What is it? Is it sparking curiosity? Is it
Mhm.
that actually haven't even thought to ask myself that question?
Mhm.
But is it I might need to do this now, another course, another? No,
Fear, fear,
just
fear,
stop.
fear,
You've done
fear.
700 billion courses. Stop,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just stop.
Yeah. And again, mental masturbation and the, you know, here's the thing that I've learned about myself recently. I made a, poor decision that we talked about after the last call that we did. And I had to really look. Number one, it gave me an invitation to make sure that when I am speaking in business, am I in 1,000% integrity? Is
Yeah.
what I actually say that I'm going to provide, deliver, whatever, resources, whatever, is it what I actually do? And really fine tuning, like, is there anywhere where I'm out of alignment with my own
Mhm.
value of integrity? The second thing was, it really forced me to own these two untended inner wounded child parts that were still, like, when I look back at that decision, it was actually, again, it's kind of a pressure valve or that mental masturbation of like, if I invest a really big investment in a coaching experience, then that will absolutely externalize my quantum leaping results because I'd been on the back of that huge, expansive month.
Yep.
And if I'm honest, and this has taken, almost 3 months of reflection because they're bitter pills, right? Like very fucking bitter. There is a part of me who never belonged at school, who wanted to be
Yep.
part of the cool girls club.
Yep. Yep.
And then I got in there and went, I want to fucking be part of this club. This is all about falsity and scarcity
Yeah.
and pushing and
Yeah.
DMing for sales. Like, ugh, yuck, it makes me
Yeah.
want to vomit. But I really had to own, like, what am I actually, like, what part of this pressure cooker of conditioning do I think I'm going to release by making that external purchase?
Totally. Totally.
And I now notice too, like I'm really feeling into a decision about something else at the moment. It's not a hugely expensive course, but it is definitely an investment. And I'm like, I'm really noticing that I'm sitting and I'm making sure that I am in that wild woman part of me. Is this coming from my desire to unfurl myself, or am I externalizing my success because I'm scared to be as powerful as what I really am?
Yes.
And if I give it
Yes.
to you, that's a
Yep.
protection from my own fucking magic.
Yes, and but also I just want to add and circle back and add when you were saying before about slow business, right?
Mhm.
There is a respect and reverence that you need to give yourself as well, that
Mhm.
and trust, to
Mhm.
underline the trust part, that you will figure it out on your own and it's okay to go fucking slow. Like it's
Yes.
okay to go slow with it, right? I was approached and offered to jump into a um coaching container,
Mhm.
and um if time and resources were the way that I wanted them to be,
Mm.
I
Mm.
probably would have paid to do
Yep.
the big thing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But when I look at it, when I look at what I would have got out of it, it would have
Mhm.
been a nice little handhold
Mhm.
for to fast track some things,
Mhm.
definitely.
Mhm.
Will I still be able to get that same those same results on my own
Mhm.
because of the way that I've been able to work before, and the discipline and all of the things, all of the hard worky things that I can do?
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. It's just slower. But on whose time frame? Why am I rushing for, and this
Yeah.
comes back again. What do I think it's going to give me? Why am I not just giving it the grace? Why am I stepping out of the feminine flow? And especially as a projector, it's not meant,
Yes.
nothing of anything is meant to be fast, because
No,
I'm
no.
missing levels of genius that are meant to drop in all the way through. And it's like you're not even being respectful to your own energy self. Like, what are you even doing, lady? And so it actually made me feel better. And it was tough for me to say no because I
Mm.
felt the pressure, right? Because it was like it was the sales the sales people that they had for
Mhm.
this, which is not the
Yep.
coach itself, but the
Yep.
people, this person's hired,
Mhm.
made me feel like maybe I was making the wrong decision.
Yeah, because
And
they're closers.
yeah,
That's
they're
their job.
closers, right? Well, that's why they've hired them externally to do it, so they don't have to feel bad. But it made me feel bad because
Yeah.
the response was, "Oh, I'm really surprised by this." And have you thought about? And like I was like, "Oh, shit, maybe this is wrong," and it's not wrong, right? Because if I actually
Mhm.
give myself some time, I
Mhm.
will create that for
Mhm.
myself. And I know that without a
Mhm.
doubt. I
Yeah.
have that wisdom there. And again, this is why your work stands out to me like a beacon. And as a
Mhm.
projector, I see all the things,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
is because this is exactly what you're teaching people. You're saying, hey, you have already got the wisdom. I'll show you how to anchor into it so you can tap into it.
Yes.
I don't know what your fucking wisdom is, but
No.
I'll teach you how to anchor in so you can get
Yep.
it.
Exactly.
And that is a different conversation. And that's why your
Yes.
content stands out, Kylie.
Yeah.
Like it's like it is like, you know, a horn that you just can't get rid of. Do you know what I mean? Like it just stands out. It's like, hello, in all the beige that's out there.
Well, I mean, I feel like that is testament to, like I'm often saying to clients, like the magic pill of magnetism, and they're all like, wait, I'm waiting for the magic pill, is to just be the you-iest version of you that you can possibly be.
Yeah.
And so my nature is status quo challenging and calling bullshit. And I cannot walk past a pattern that I can see that other people are like. That's why I wrote this post about the coaches coaching coaches to coach coaches bullshit pyramid.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would say about that closing thing is another atrocious doing harm pattern I see all the time is this concept that if you don't make the investment, you're somehow not going all in. Or if you
Yeah.
don't put a
Yes.
fucking loan on your credit card
Yeah. Yeah.
to invest in a coaching circle, I hate the word container, so I'm not going to say that, but a coaching experience,
Yeah.
the fault is you. There
Yeah.
is a problem with you. And so what I'm seeing is shaming, gaslighting, manipulation of people that are, people that are good at sales. Do you know one of the things that I know about myself, and it's interesting when you look at human design, I can see where it comes from in my chart. I'm exceptionally good at influencing someone.
Yeah.
And so I can, because I'm like in my natural kind of yucky way, I can be inspiring. And what I've realized when I'm in, especially a one-on-one sales conversation, I have to be really aware of being in my truth and leaning back to allow space for that person to come to their own decision.
Yeah.
And what I see all the time is these charismatic people, particularly of particular progeny in the coaching world,
Yeah.
where they're replicating something, are charging 30, 50, $100,000 to be in their containers based on the fact that they're extremely charismatic and extremely good at sales,
Yeah.
but there's no fucking substance underneath it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
how can you know that about
Yeah.
yourself? How can
Yeah.
you know how influential your energy is
Yeah.
and use it for evil, use it
Yeah.
to do harm and shame and gaslight and manipulate and coerce people into going faster than they're meant to,
Yeah.
into completely shutting down their nervous system because now they can't even afford to buy groceries
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
pay their mortgage or
Yeah.
put fuel
Yeah.
in their car because you've shamed them
Totally.
into spending an enormous amount. And I'm like,
Yes.
fuck that.
And,
Like,
and yeah, but also when you've come off the back of that experience
mhm.
and sales doesn't feel good for you, that's also a sabotage as well because those experiences now because you don't want to be like that, so then you're not selling at all then.
This is my problem right at
Yeah.
the minute. I've gone
Yeah.
through 3 months of collapse
Yeah.
after that recent
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to be in this fucking
Yeah,
business.
of course. Well,
And
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's what happens, right? Because you're like, well, I've got an offer out there, and I've had to add, and like, it's funny, right? Like my toughest critics are my parents, and so sometimes I'll show them some videos and stuff that I've recorded where I
yeah,
feel like I've put myself out there, which I
yeah, yeah,
haven't.
yeah,
It's just me being just me,
yeah, yeah,
and but in my nervous system is like, wow, we've really stretched ourselves,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like 1% of what's possible. Um, and I'll show them and they'll say to me, you need to add in there, message me or call me or something like that. They're the ones who are saying,
yeah,
add
yeah.
something
Yes,
in, right?
yes,
Like,
yes.
but to me, because of the being on the receiving end of all that gaslighting and the
Mhm,
salesy and the blah blah blahs,
mhm,
it makes me feel sick to do it. Right. And so it's awkward for me. So I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about
mhm.
how I want to say it where I don't feel like I'm
Yes,
selling to people, where
yeah,
I'm not like pushing them into, but I'm still
yeah.
saying, come this way.
Yes. So to me, there's an energy that I help people when, because as soon as we say sales page or sales copy, I see my clients, there's like a terrified look in their eyes, and then all their defensive mechanisms come on board, right? And so the way that I reframe that is, what if we just wrote a love note to your soulmate clients that
Yeah.
you are looking to invite into your field,
Yeah.
and the love note being an invitation,
Yeah.
not just to take the action that we're inviting them to, but to feel, and I'm using feeling very consciously, seen and heard by you and what you are showing them.
Yeah.
Because the stupid thing about this quick way of doing business and the churn them and burn them and gaslighting people into a sale is, do you actually really want to be on the receiving end of running a container
Yeah.
where everybody that you've got in the door has had to be manipulated into getting it? And so you've
Yeah.
set yourself up to be the guru on the pedestal, and then you have to fulfill and perform if you've got scruples. If you don't have scruples, you don't give a fuck, and you're just going
Yeah.
to keep on churning, which
Yeah.
is, that's totally a bro marketing tactic. That's always open. But if you try on for size that these love notes that you're writing may or may not end up being someone taking the action that you're inviting them to at the moment. But that even if they don't say yes to that, that is not a bad thing,
Yeah.
because being seen and heard in a marketplace full of bullshit and vanilla and AI generated copy where there isn't an infusion of the human essence and the love note in there to
Yeah.
start with, that is something that can build over time into a relationship where when you send an email, that person does actually open it
Yeah.
because you've helped them to feel like it's not just me. This person does understand what's in my mind.
Yeah.
And so when we think about it from a sales page or a sales call or a call to action, this very masculine language,
Yeah.
it is a totally different somatic experience if I say to you, go and write me a love letter. A
Yeah.
love letter. What do you want that beautiful human who is your true soulmate client, not just the people that feel safe to work with, because that's something else that happens here, but the true desire of the people you want to work with? How can you connect heart to heart with that person? And yes, there's absolutely strategy to put over the top of this. And that's why I teach through the lens of storytelling, because that's the way that we most easily relate and engage.
Yeah.
But inviting into a transformation that you're offering. And the other thing that, a lot of people don't get about this is that we think that we're offering a container or a series of sessions or a one-day retreat or whatever. We are inviting people into a transformation that they cannot or will not, depending, access themselves.
Yeah.
That does not mean that we think that they need fixing or that we are the guru or that we are doing anything but just providing a different perspective, a different, higher quality questions,
Mm-hmm.
different ways of looking at things that open up that transformation. So you're not selling the features, you're selling the benefit and the outcome and the transformation. And
Yeah.
when you go through writing a love letter, and then you also put over the top of that, yes, there's storytelling strategy about a sales page does need to include these things, but you use that strategy as a checklist over the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
of your human to human
Yeah.
invitation. It completely changes the game, like
Yeah.
completely changes the game. And also with the understanding that you can't go out there writing a love note if you still have, I need to make $20,000 from this launch. So it has to be
Yeah.
good, because
Yeah.
straight away you're in your brain
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're not connecting to me heart to heart. And I
Yeah.
can feel that, whether I am a active conscious feeler, we can
Yeah.
feel dissonance very easily,
Totally. Totally.
and we don't trust that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally
So
different,
true. Yeah.
totally different energetic equation. And that changes the game, because as I said before, like when you're a paradigm shifter that's worn good girl clothing for a lot of years, that conditioning comes out to play as soon as we want to ask for money in exchange for something that we do, right?
Yeah.
Because we are trained to take care of everyone else first.
Yeah.
Or we are trained that our natural way of being in the world is somehow not right, and we need to be more professional or more whatever, or more, with me with the swearing example, or, another example, tiny example from my business. I can spell like a mofo. I cannot touch type to save myself. There is 100% going to be spelling mistakes in my copy. And that's hilarious as a copyright, like, someone that teaches copywriting. I just don't give a fuck anymore
Yeah.
because I don't feel like that's important. And if that matters to you, you are not my ideal client
Yeah,
anyway.
of
So please
course.
move on and find someone who is perfect and polished, because that ain't me. Don't ask me to be perfect and polished. I am messy as all fuck and also magical. So surrendering to who you actually are and then writing a love note to who you actually want to invite in,
Yes.
and then letting the magic unfold and understanding that it is not one launch that dictates your success or not, or
Yes,
one
yes.
launch that makes you feel worthy.
That's
Fuck
right.
that off. Your business is never going to make you feel like that. And if you're looking to your business or someone external,
Yeah.
like, you're really setting yourself up to fail. It's a self sabotaging cycle that you will continue to be in until you can't sustain it anymore and you either burn out or say, that's it, I'm going back to corporate, which is, I've done that because
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
yeah. Yeah.
created a business that was completely unsustainable
For
because
sure, for
I
sure.
was still running
Hmm.
totally codependent patterns where I was trying to run interference and fix everything for every single client that I ever freaking well had, which
Yeah,
meant I was working from 5 a.m. until midnight to fit in everyone's time zones. And I was
totally.
not connected to myself. And so I was so outside of myself. And that's the other thing with the self-devotion. If you are a coach, a mentor, a guide, and you're going into sessions not resourced yourself,
Yep.
guaranteed you are bringing in energy that is not clean and clear. And so you are actually negatively impacting your clients.
Totally. 1,000%. Oh my God. I mean, just all of that. Just all of it.
Mm.
And it is why, um, and just circling back to like what's been really important in our conversation today is coming back to that daily devotion, anchoring back to the truth of you for however long it takes you per day. Even if that's the thing that you do all day, then that's the thing that you do all day.
And
Forget your
sometimes that's exactly what you need to
Yeah,
do. Mm.
forget the to-do list, right? Forget the calendar. One of my favorite things is blocking out my calendar and overwhelming myself with the 700 tasks.
Oh, yeah,
That's like
me
my
too.
favorite thing to do,
You
right?
should see my Asana queue at the moment. It's got like 30 tasks for today on it.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, it's already bloody 1:45, for Christ's
Y-
sake. Like,
Yeah,
what? Have you
yeah.
cloned yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes it's actually like, no, today feels more challenging to be in that anchor point. So I'm going to take my time with this today.
Yeah,
And
100%.
whatever else on top of this is a bonus.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And even more so as a projector, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing, which is really
Yep.
good. But
Yep.
it is that takes some discipline. The irony of it is that actually takes some, that's the discipline. That's the self-devotion is a discipline,
Yep.
and that's how you bring your fullest potency out. So you can
Mhm.
write that copy, you can write those, you can talk to your clients in a loving love letter
Mm.
way that doesn't feel salesy, right?
Mhm.
Where you're still able to say, hey, right now there's this retreat or this workshop or this course or whatever,
Yes.
this program that's available if you want to explore this further.
Yeah.
Very
100%.
nice, very loving, very not salesy,
Yeah, exactly.
very aligned.
Yeah.
You know how there's that meme that should be a meme. You know how there's that meme that's very, you know the one about men, very, well, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's very, do you know what I'm talking about, where they
No,
say
I don't know.
he's
I'm not.
he's very this, very that, very, I can't.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
No, don't worry, it's gone to the keeper. But anyway, that in and of itself should be a meme, because it is just let yourself be in that full self-devotion, that full alignment, and the rest just like that is where the success is. That is where your wealth portal is
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like the final thing that, and I know we've gone very over time,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
the thing that, no, it's fine for me as long as it's fine for you. But the other thread that I want to pull as well is when you are inviting someone to lean into different ways of being. So, for example, the self-devotion thing, get really bloody clear with the fact that you better be doing that yourself.
Yeah.
Like stop. And this is what a lot of marketing is about, like, but it's all the surface level highlight reel of how I really run my life. And the more that we can lean into showing the messiness, and I haven't been great at this in the last 3 months because I've felt very protective of myself. Like I really had to go inward and harvest the bitter pills, like I said before. And now that I've kind of come to because I would never say to share stuff that is really triggering for you, because you do need to, treat your audience with the respect of actually processing first before you, don't go out there looking for someone else to fix it. But understanding that there's a piece of this that is being in integrity with what you ask other people to do.
Yeah.
And that is even more so because you are always going to be on the expansion of what you actually invite people into.
Totally.
So if you are teaching alignment and you're not aligned, or if you are teaching wealth, and this is what I see all the fucking time, quantum wealth. I'm launching a quantum wealth program because I need it to create $50,000 because I'm not quantum wealthing. And I'm like, fuck off. Like, stop. Like, let's just quit the bullshit. And I know, like, how do you stop an entire industry? But I do feel like the ones standing in the long term will be those of us that are surrendering to what we're actually meant to be doing in the world and continuing to take the not easy but worthwhile steps towards surrendering again and again and again to the magnificence of who I am and unlearning the rules about what this has to look like.
Totally. But also, I think you need to know your audience, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
when I look at, say, the audience that I have who are CEOs, their time is limited. They're not interested in what I'm doing day to day. They could give two fucks about what I'm doing.
Exactly. That is a good point.
So,
yes.
So you have to know your audience and show the real parts of you. Like I don't hide that I'm spiritual, and I use that in my language, and that's how they know, right? But also I use imagery that talks to it, right? Without being too confronting. They don't need to see me meditating and EFT tapping and doing my yoga. That wouldn't resonate, especially because they're men as well. Not interested. And so it's good because it gives me permission. I had to because I love watching all of those things. For me personally, I love it. But my audience, they just like, what is she doing? Like my clients are on LinkedIn, then they don't want that there. And that's fine. So I can give myself permission not to do that, but I can show them in a different way. I can
100%.
talk to it in a different way, and it's not shying away from that. It's just about being real and truthful that you are leading and you are walking the talk so that they know that they can trust you.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a really good point because not everybody is designed to even have a social media presence to invite people into their field. And not everyone's ideal soulmate clients are actually on social media or on a particular platform. And so fitting all of what we're saying through the filter of like, where are my people? And also, where do I love to be as well? And again, understanding that sometimes that's for your own like learning or connection or whatever. And that might be, say, Instagram for something that you want to source for yourself, but your people might be on LinkedIn. And so understanding, so I always talk to people about like use language that makes sense to your client. So don't woo-woo, like don't make it so fluffy and intangible that the people that you want to help don't actually even know what you're talking about. I see that all the time in healing and helping. And don't use like jargon that makes sense to another energy healer, but does not make any fucking sense to the CEO that you want to attract with it. Because you can bring that in language that makes sense to them or is attractive to them, but you don't have to do it the way that it's always done.
That's right. So if it makes sense to you, that's one thing, but does it make sense to your clients? Do they understand what you're saying when you say A, B, C, and D? And so you can still say the same thing, but in a way that's digestible. And I had to spend a lot of time And we talked about this in the first podcast. I just spent a lot of time thinking about how to position it in a way where I wasn't diluting my
Yes.
magic, but also making it easy for them to connect to it. Because
Yeah.
if they can't connect to it, none of that's going that none of that would
Correct.
have, I could have really woo-wooed it out if I was really like out
Yeah,
there.
I'm leaning in.
I would, yeah, I
Yeah.
would be using all of like, oh, it would be there'd be more of that language. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? But
Yeah.
it's already intense enough as it is for them to take that leap. So there's a gentleness and a compassion, but you know, you can still show your audience the fullness of you and still
Yes.
be loving in your way of connecting. You just need to know you and you
Yes.
need to know them
Them.
and know how you want to why you want to help them, like help them
Mhm.
understand why you're in devotion of the work that you're doing. Why is that your mission? Why is that your passion?
Yes.
Why?
This is the number one story that I will always start with from a storytelling perspective. Like, why do
Yeah.
you give a fuck about this? Like,
Yeah.
what is the golden thread that led you to unfold this work in the world?
Totally, totally.
Because there's hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of people that do similar work, but there is no one that is the same with their why. And that comes back to that miracle and,
Totally.
genius. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
oh,
Kylie, you're
such a
just the
good
best.
conversation.
I've just loved talking to you. This is just
Love riffing.
another I was like, will this be as epic as the other one? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
This
For
is why
sure
I'm
it
writing a
is.
book because I'm like, I need to get all of this out of me
I
because
know.
I
But
just
it
feel like
is
it's a
it
very
is
different lens. Yeah.
oh, it's so good. It was just another beautiful deep dive. I love you so much. I adore you and I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you very much for being such a good interviewer. And I love just being able to respond. Like that's, a generator is born to be on podcast because we can just respond in the moment. So
I
thank
love
you.
it. All right, I'll speak to you again soon.
Toodaloo.
Bye.